bit of breaking news here this morning. According to the Wall Street Journal, newly disclosed emails show that top Obama administration officials were in close contact with Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign in early 2015 about the potential fallout, don't you know, from revelations that the former Secretary of State used a private email server.
And that's breaking news? I mean, that's breaking news? No one could figure it out on them? Okay. All right.
This discussion included a request from the White House communications director to her counterpart at the State Department to see if it was possible to arrange for Secretary of State John Kerry to avoid questions during media appearances about Mrs. Clinton email arrangement.
Yeah, and lobbyists are only trying to get to give information to the politicians. This is all breaking news. I mean, come on. Can we think? Can anyone think?
No one can think. All journalists are dumb. We're keeping you up to date, too, on Hurricane Matthew. Death total right now is 478. All of those coming from the Caribbean, mostly from Haiti. And it's now been downgraded to a Category 3 storm, but there's still 150-mile-per-hour winds, driving rains, and the ordered, or not mandatory, but suggested evacuation is still on. Thanks for joining us. Amy Jacobson here. Sean from Elmwood Park is in for Dan Proft. You're
very excited.
You're a Hurricane Category 2, I'd say. You started out as a Hurricane Category 5.
Really?
Then we got the phone call from Dad. Pops told you to cool your heels a little, calm down. And
so now I'm listening to your dad. Is that what you're trying to pass
listening to
on?
Mr. Jacobson.
I think I'm pretty consistent, but go ahead. All right. Let's get a congressman. I'm excited about a congressman. Brett Baer and a congressman.
Brett Baer first, and now we have Congressman Bob Dold.
With a D?
Not an E. Thank you. And he joins us on our Turnkey.pro answer line. Good morning, Congressman Dold. How are you?
Good morning, Amy. Good morning, Sean. How are you guys?
Very good, Congressman.
We're good. So third go around here with Brad Schneider. You guys go back and forth. It's your
in the
seat.
Villa, right? So yeah, absolutely. Third go around. We're excited to be going up against Brad Schneider.
And so you have to raise money, of course, to campaign successfully. And how much have you raised this quarter?
Well, this quarter actually was a great quarter. Was thrilled with the support from folks in the 10th District. We were able to raise over $1 million, which is fantastic because, frankly, we're going to turn around and give it right back to all the media because we're putting it right back up on the air to get our message out. So
it's kind of a subsidy, you'd say. It's just a circle of subsidy. So, Bob, I got a question. I got a question for you because I want to talk about the Iran deal. I think you do too.
Yeah.
And what I'd like to talk about is the side money, the cash payments. Were you, as a member of Congress, made aware of these payments?
No, we were not made aware of a cash payment. At least I can tell you that I was not aware of that. But I find it troubling the fact that the administration says it's not a ransom payment, yet our sailors are held at gunpoint, and we're sending an unmarked plane with $400 million of cash in foreign currency to the greatest state sponsor of terror. And just miraculously, as soon as the plane, after the soldiers are released, the plane takes off and lands in Tehran. This is absolutely something that the American people can look at, and they can smell what's going on. This is absolutely a ransom payment, and it is disastrous.
Well, it's a matter of national security, too.
Because they couldn't get a wire payment done, and then we know that actually they did do wire payments.
It's outrageous.
11 different wire payments of over $100 million.
Yeah, but now diplomats and Americans who are, have jobs or contractors overseas in Iran, in Iraq, wherever in the Middle East, they're more susceptible to being kidnapped.
Listen, there's a reason why we don't negotiate with terrorists. And frankly, when we have people that are being held at gunpoint, our sailors, this is a big problem. And again, as we look at this Iran deal, Sean, the Iran deal that was done, I think, is going to haunt us for generations. I was against it, before when they were talking about doing this potential agreement. I'm against it today. The things that were wrong with it then are still wrong with it today. In fact, I would argue in many instances they're worse because we have emboldened the Iranian regime. They are standing up. They are testing us on several different areas, and we are funneling money into the world's greatest state sponsor of terror.
Well, that's why it's imperative.
Who was against the deal is now all of a sudden 100% for it. It's wildly problematic.
Well, that's why it's imperative you win. But I'm more hung up on this idea. See, I love my old civics class, and if I remember correctly, Congress, you're the money. You're the ones who spend the money. You're the ones who's closest to the people. So when money has been committed by another group, first of all, I think it's illegal that it's paid. That's just me giving you my opinion. Number two, it seems to me that the executive branch has usurped the fundamental basis of Congress. And why is there no recourse? Congressman, I am not the kind of guy that says, thank you, may I have another. I am sick and tired of this nonsense. Honest, I mean it.
John, you're not alone.
$200 trillion in debt, $20 trillion, continuing resolution spend. Just rubber stamp it. Everything will be fine. I have kids. You have kids. You know what's sad is our great-grandkids will be paying for this kind of nonsense that's gone on for 8 years.
Let me just tell you a couple of things that are going on, because most of the American people don't have any idea. When there's a conflict between the executive and the legislative branch, we go to the judicial branch, and there's a number of different lawsuits out right now to hold the administration accountable because they have overstepped their bounds. And so there are lawsuits that are going on right now that are trying to hold them accountable. We've had some back, like the NLRB, when we believe that the executive overstepped their bounds. But there's a bigger issue. People are so upset because we've seen really a growth of government like we've never seen before. We've seen really a fourth branch of government emerge. And that's in the regulatory agencies. The executive branch is telling the executive agencies to do rulemakings and, frankly, to regulate that which they can't legislate. And, frankly, I think that is appalling. We want to take that power back to the United States Congress, closest to the people, so that the people have some mechanism that who we're accountable to. Frankly, we don't see that with the regulators. They're not accountable to anyone, and we've seen a growth of government which, frankly, needs to be rolled back.
Well, why can't you stop the payments to these organizations, the FDA, the EPA, OSHA? Why not just stop the money? Because, I mean, you and I both know there's layers on top of layers on top of layers. And the other question I have is, I know you do, but does Congress, do they read the bills they're passing? The 2,000-page Dodd-Frank bill, which is really the backdoor nationalization of every business, of anybody doing banking, of every instance of money. We still are unaware of it because my congressman, who's Louis Gutierrez, by the way, I expect him to do nothing except make sure his nephew's got a job.
He'll eat Skittles at a board hearing.
Yeah, but the problem is, this bill has been passed. It's written in legalese of 2,000 pages that's spawning thousands upon thousands of laws. And when you say government gets bigger, I know what you mean, because the only other reaction to that is our liberty gets smaller. So how do we stop it? Because I want you to impeach him. I mean, if you're telling me he usurped money, he put my kids in debt without your approval, impeach him.
Well, it was Reagan that said, when government expands, liberty contracts. There's no question about that. And honestly, as we look at Dodd-Frank and these monumental bills, even Barney Frank says that it's gone beyond what the congressional intent was. And so there's still 160 rules and regulations, Sean, of Dodd-Frank that have yet to even be written, which is alarming because each and every one of those could put financial institutions out of business.
Well, that's what happens when Citibank writes a bill and puts your name on it.
The big banks have gotten bigger. The small local community banks, which is where most small businesses go to get access to capital, to be able to get a loan, to be able to do the types of things to expand their business. 1,250 community banks have gone out of business, and they haven't been replaced because government wants to put a one-size-fits-all. We're regulating these folks to death, and frankly, they can't do it. They don't have floor after floor of lawyers that are dealing with compliance. They're trying to just do what they do each and every day, assess risk, be able to get loans out into the community on Main Street, and they're having a much more difficult time doing it. And so I can tell you, as someone that used to sit on the Financial Services Committee, that the Financial Services Committee is working to try to make sure that we're rolling back these onerous provisions to try to make sure that we're making it easier for entrepreneurs and easier for Main Street to be able to get access to capital.
All right, that voice belongs to Congressman Bob Dold. He needs your support coming up in the election, 31 days away?
Yeah, and just do all that stuff before I go broke.
Yeah, and are you tired of running against your opponent?
Actually, we're A-OK running against Brad Schneider.
He's the easiest person to beat.
This is a guy that, frankly, he was thrown out before largely because he was ranked one of the least effective members of the United States Congress. We're happy to go up and compare our record versus his, and frankly, we want the public of the 10th District to take a good look at our records, and I believe that they do. We're going right back.
You should be able to beat the Soviet. Good luck.
Good luck.
Hey, thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.
And thank you for joining us. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.